Tell them I forced you. Adrian Hayes said it so quietly that Noah Bennett almost believed he had imagined it, but the silence that followed told him everyone else had heard. The great chamber of the council seemed to shrink around them. Hundreds of faces turned toward Noah, waiting for one sentence that could save his future and destroy Adrian's. Noah stood alone beneath the cold white lights, his hands locked at his sides, trying not to look at the man standing 20 feet away. Trying and failing. Adrian looked exactly as he always did in public, tall, composed, dressed in a charcoal suit with every line perfectly in place. The kind of alpha who could enter a crowded room without raising his voice and somehow make everyone notice. But no one knew him better now. He saw the tension in Adrian's jaw, the way his right hand opened and closed once beside his leg, the tiny movement no one else would notice. Fear. Adrian Hayes was afraid. Not for himself. For Noah. Mr. Bennett, the council chairman said, his voice echoing beneath the vaulted ceiling. You understand the question. Noah swallowed. He understood everything. 3 weeks ago, he had been an anonymous Omega working in the council archives, spending his days cataloging laws written by powerful men who would never remember his name. Adrian had been the heir to one of the oldest alpha families in the country, a man whose future had been decided before either of them had ever met. They had occupied different worlds. They should have remained strangers. That was what the law expected. That was what Adrian's family demanded. That was what Noah had told himself every time Adrian entered the archive and the room suddenly felt too small. Now they stood before the council because of one forbidden bond neither of them was supposed to have formed. Noah could still hear the chairman's offer. Say Adrian acted without your consent, and you walk away. Your record will be cleared. Your position will be restored. You will be protected. Protected. The word almost made Noah laugh. He looked at Adrian again. Their eyes met. For one dangerous second, the chamber disappeared. No council. No laws. No staring alphas. Just Adrian, watching him with an expression that said what his voice never would. Please, save yourself. Tell them. Adrian repeated, softer this time. Noah's chest tightened. Adrian was giving him permission to ruin him. Worse, he was asking for it. One lie, and Noah could leave through those enormous doors as an innocent victim. Adrian would lose his inheritance, his title, perhaps everything his family had spent generations building. Noah's fingers curled against his palms. The chairman leaned forward. Mr. Bennett, did Adrian Hayes force this bond upon you? Noah opened his mouth. Adrian did not look away. Neither did Noah. And in that moment, with the entire council holding its breath, one thought became perfectly clear. 3 weeks earlier, Noah Bennett had believed the most dangerous thing about Adrian Hayes was that an Omega like him was forbidden from getting too close. He had been wrong. The dangerous thing was that Adrian had always been willing to lose everything for him. And Noah was finally beginning to understand why. 3 weeks earlier, Noah Bennett believed his life was perfectly manageable as long as he followed 3 rules. Arrive at the council archives before 8 in the morning, never argue with senior alphas unless absolutely necessary, and under no circumstances spend more time with Adrian Hayes than his job required. The first 2 rules were easy. The third had become a problem. Noah stood behind the long oak reference desk, sorting sealed files into neat stacks while rain tapped softly against the tall windows. The archives occupied the oldest wing of the council building, a place of stone walls, brass lamps, and enough dust to make every document feel like a secret. Noah liked it that way. Secrets were easier than people. Then the door opened. He did not have to look up. He knew. Adrian always changed the atmosphere of a room without doing anything obvious. Conversations became quieter. People stood straighter. Even the air seemed to pause. Noah kept his attention on the file in his hands. You are early, he said. You noticed. Adrian's voice was calm, almost amused. Noah finally looked up. Charcoal coat. Dark tie. Perfect posture. The future leader everyone expected him to become. I notice everyone who interrupts my morning. That is comforting. Adrian stopped on the opposite side of the desk, leaving a careful distance between them. Always careful. That was the strange part. Other alphas sometimes stood too close without realizing it. Adrian never did. He seemed aware of every inch separating them. Noah hated that he noticed that too. I need access to the founding records, Adrian said. Noah raised an eyebrow. Those records are restricted. I am aware. Then this conversation should be very short. Something almost like a smile touched Adrian's mouth. Almost. Noah looked back down before his own expression betrayed him. He reached for the authorization ledger. Their hands moved toward it at the same time. Adrian stopped first. Barely an inch separated their fingers. Neither moved. The moment lasted only a second, but Noah felt his heartbeat stumble anyway. He pulled his hand back. You first. Adrian's gaze lingered on him before he took the ledger. Thank you. Noah told himself the sudden warmth in his face came from the old heating system. It was a terrible lie. Everyone in the building knew Adrian Hayes was expected to choose a politically suitable Omega before the end of the year. Everyone also knew certain pairings were forbidden by law. Noah had discovered that particular rule by accident 2 years earlier while cataloging sealed legal codes. Rule 37. An alpha of a governing bloodline could never bond with an Omega classified as white-scented. Noah had read the sentence 5 times. Then he had checked his own medical registration. White-scented Omega. He had laughed at the absurdity of feeling disappointed by a law that should never matter to him. Adrian was not his. Adrian would never be his. Nothing had ever happened between them. Nothing would. That should have made everything simple. Instead, Adrian signed the ledger, closed it, and looked directly at Noah. There is a ceremony Friday night. Noah forced his voice to remain steady. I know. Will you be there? Archive staff are required to attend. Adrian nodded once, but something unreadable passed through. His expression. Good. Noah watched him walk toward the restricted section, wondering why that single word felt heavier than it should. Then he looked down at the ledger and saw something that made his stomach tighten. Adrian had not requested the founding records about succession. He had requested the original file containing Rule 37. By Friday evening, Noah had convinced himself that Adrian's request for Rule 37 meant nothing. Powerful families collected old laws the way ordinary people collected embarrassing photographs. It was probably politics, history, some administrative curiosity Noah had no business caring about. That explanation survived until he entered the council ballroom and found Adrian already watching him from across the room. The ceremony was meant to celebrate unity among the governing families, which apparently required crystal chandeliers, expensive suits, and enough polite conversation to make Noah consider hiding behind a decorative palm. He had barely taken 3 steps inside when Evelyn Marsh from Medical Services appeared beside him. You look pale, she said. That is just my face. You know what I mean. Noah sighed. I took my suppressant this morning. Evelyn studied him for another second, then nodded reluctantly. Tell me if you feel strange. Strange was becoming an alarmingly flexible word. Across the ballroom, Adrian stood beside Council Chairman Marcus Vale, listening to an older alpha discuss something Noah could not hear. Adrian should have looked completely at home there. Instead, his attention kept returning to Noah. Once, twice, 3 times. Noah finally lifted his eyebrows as if to ask what his problem was. Adrian looked away. Coward, Noah thought, and immediately hated himself for smiling. An hour later, the room became too warm. At first Noah blamed the crowd, then the lights, then the terrible sparkling cider someone had handed him. But the warmth kept building beneath his collar, accompanied by a strange dizziness that made the edges of the ballroom blur. He set down his glass. Something was wrong. Evelyn had disappeared into the crowd. Noah reached into his pocket for the small silver container that held his emergency medication. Empty. His pulse quickened. He had filled it that morning. He remembered doing it. Noah slipped through a side door before anyone could notice his expression. The hallway beyond was quiet and cool, but it did little to settle him. He headed toward the archive wing, choosing the one place he knew would be empty during the ceremony. Halfway there, footsteps followed. Noah turned. Adrian stood at the far end of the corridor. Do not come closer, Noah said. Adrian stopped instantly. No questions. No argument. Just stillness. That frightened Noah more than panic would have. What happened? Adrian asked. I do not know. Noah pressed one hand against the cold stone wall. My suppressant is not working. Adrian's expression changed. Barely, but Noah saw it. Where is your emergency dose? Missing. Silence. Adrian looked toward the ballroom, then back at Noah. Can you walk? I am walking now. Poorly. Thank you for the medical assessment. Adrian almost smiled, but concern won. There is a secured room beneath the archive. It has independent ventilation and a direct medical call system. Noah stared at him. How do you know that? Founding records. Of course. Rule 37. Noah wanted to ask a dozen questions, but another wave of dizziness made the decision for him. Fine. Adrian led the way without touching him, always staying several feet ahead. They descended a narrow staircase hidden behind the restricted stacks and entered a circular chamber older than the building above it. Symbols had been carved into the walls, their meanings lost beneath centuries of dust. Adrian locked the door and immediately crossed to the opposite side of the room. "I will call for help," he said. Noah lowered himself into a chair, breathing slowly. "Adrian." He stopped. "My medication did not fail." Noah held up the silver container. The seal around its lid had been broken and replaced. Adrian's face went completely still. Someone had tampered with it. Before either man could speak again, a low golden light moved across the nearest wall. One ancient symbol after another began to glow. Adrian turned toward them, all color leaving his face. "That is impossible." Noah looked at him. "You recognize those symbols?" Adrian did not answer immediately. His eyes moved from the wall to Noah, then back again. When he finally spoke, his voice was almost a whisper. "Noah, this room was sealed more than 200 years ago because the last two people who activated those markings changed every law the council was built upon." Noah stared at the glowing symbols, then at Adrian. "You are going to explain that sentence right now." Adrian remained near the opposite wall, every muscle in his posture held under careful control. "The records are incomplete. That is not an explanation. It is the only honest answer I have." The golden light continued moving through the carvings until the entire chamber seemed to breathe with it. Noah felt the strange pressure inside him begin to ease, not disappear, but settle, as though the room itself had recognized something neither of them understood. Adrian noticed too. "Your breathing is better. Apparently ancient architecture has excellent health benefits." Noah tried to smile, but Adrian did not. His attention had shifted to a symbol directly behind Noah's chair. Two circles connected by a single line. "I saw that mark in the founding records." Noah followed his gaze. "What does it mean?" "Choice." The answer came too quickly. Noah narrowed his eyes. "You knew?" "I suspected." "Adrian." "The first Hayes Alpha did not rule alone," Adrian said quietly. "The official histories say he created the council. The sealed records say he created it with an Omega whose name was later removed from almost every document." Noah felt a chill that had nothing to do with the room. "A white-scented Omega." Adrian nodded. Before Noah could respond, the chamber lights flickered. The medical call panel beside the door remained dark. No signal. No connection. They were alone. Adrian crossed halfway toward him, then stopped. "Tell me what you need." Noah looked up. There was no command in Adrian's voice. No assumption. Just a question. Somehow, that made Noah trust him more than anything else could have. "Stay." Adrian's expression softened. "All right." He lowered himself to the floor. Several feet away, close enough that Noah no longer felt alone, far enough that the choice remained Noah's. Minutes passed. Maybe 20. Maybe 60. Time became difficult to measure. They talked because silence made everything worse. Noah accused Adrian of having terrible taste in ties. Adrian informed Noah that his filing system was unnecessarily complicated. Noah called that deeply offensive. Adrian almost laughed. Little by little, the fear loosened its grip. Then Noah noticed the mark on his own wrist. A faint gold circle had appeared beneath his skin, warm but painless. Adrian looked down at his hand. The same symbol rested there. Both men froze. "That was not there before," Noah said. "No. Is this a bond?" Adrian's silence answered first. Noah stood too quickly, then steadied himself against the chair. "We did not do anything." "I know." "Then how?" Adrian looked toward the ancient markings. "Maybe the council has been wrong about what creates a bond." The implications settled between them. Noah laughed once, without humor. "So let me understand this. We entered a forbidden room, activated a 200-year-old symbol, and somehow formed a bond the council says should be impossible." Adrian considered that. "We may also be trespassing." Noah stared at him. "That is your contribution?" "I am trying to make the situation sound less alarming." "You are failing." For the first time that night, Adrian smiled. It disappeared when footsteps sounded above them. Someone was entering the archive. Adrian looked at Noah's wrist. Noah looked at his. The golden marks were already fading from sight, but something else had changed. The air between them felt unmistakably different. Adrian stood. No one can know. Noah nodded. Then the hidden door opened at the top of the stairs, and a familiar voice called into the darkness. Adrian. Chairman Marcus Vale had found them. When Adrian turned toward the staircase, Noah saw the chairman stop. His eyes moved once between them, and his expression changed. He could not see the mark. He did not need to. Somehow he already knew. Chairman Marcus Vale said nothing for several seconds, which somehow felt more dangerous than an accusation. Noah remained beside the chair while Adrian stepped subtly between him and the staircase. It was a small movement. Protective. Instinctive. Marcus noticed. Of course he did. The ceremony ended 20 minutes ago, Marcus said. People were asking where you went. Adrian's voice remained even. Noah became unwell. I brought him somewhere quiet. Marcus looked past him. And you chose this room? It was the closest secured space. Interesting. The word landed softly, but Noah felt the weight behind it. Marcus descended the final steps and stopped several feet away. His gaze moved across the ancient symbols, now dark again, then settled on Noah. Are you feeling better, Mr. Bennett? Much. Good. Then perhaps you can explain why your sin has changed. Silence. Noah felt Adrian stiffen. Marcus smiled without warmth. Do not look so surprised. Some of us remember the old records. Adrian's expression hardened. Nothing happened here. I did not say it did. Marcus turned toward Noah. You should go home. Adrian immediately said, I will take him. That will not be necessary. I was not asking. Noah closed his eyes for half a second. Excellent. Nothing said innocence, quite like two powerful alphas politely threatening each other with perfect posture. I can get myself home, Noah said. Both men looked at him. I have been doing it successfully for 24 years. Adrian opened his mouth. Noah raised one finger. Do not. To Noah's surprise, Adrian actually stopped. Marcus watched the exchange with new interest. That worried Noah more than anything. By Monday morning, the entire council building felt different. Conversations stopped when Noah entered rooms. People who had never noticed him suddenly knew his name. One administrative assistant stared at him so openly that Noah finally asked whether he had grown a second head. She nearly dropped her coffee. Then the rumors started. Noah had deliberately followed Adrian into the archive. Noah had manipulated his medication. Noah had spent months trying to attract the future council leader. Each version became more ridiculous than the last, but they all shared one convenient conclusion. Adrian was important. Noah was ambitious. Therefore, Noah had to be responsible. Adrian wanted to make a public statement. Noah refused. Absolutely not. They stood inside the restricted archive after closing, separated by the same oak desk where their fingers had almost touched days earlier. They are damaging your reputation, Adrian said. And you announcing that you are protecting me will make them stop? Noah folded his arms. No. It will make me look like exactly what they already think I am. An omega hiding behind an alpha. That is not what you are. Then stop treating me like I need permission to fight my own battles. Adrian went silent. Noah immediately regretted how sharp the words sounded, but he did not take them back. Adrian looked down at the authorization ledger between them. I do not know how to protect you without making this worse. The honesty in his voice disarmed Noah completely. Then stand beside me, Noah said more softly. Not in front of me. Adrian met his eyes. All right. For one brief moment, Noah believed that might be enough. Then the archive doors opened. 3 council officers entered with Marcus Vale behind them. Marcus held a sealed document in one hand. Noah Bennett, he said, you are required to come with us for formal questioning regarding the unauthorized bond investigation. Adrian stepped forward. Noah caught his wrist. Beside me, he reminded him. Adrian looked down at Noah's hand, then back at him. Slowly, he stepped into place at Noah's side. The questioning room was smaller than Noah expected, almost disappointingly ordinary for a place designed to determine whether his entire life had become a political problem. A wooden table, 2 chairs, one narrow window overlooking the city. Marcus Vale sat across from him with a folder that looked far too thick for a man who claimed this was only a routine investigation. Let us begin with your medication, Marcus said. Noah kept his hands folded on the table. Someone tampered with it. That is one possibility. It is the correct possibility. Marcus opened the folder. You expect us to believe that someone deliberately caused your condition during the ceremony, knowing Adrian Hayes would find you. Noah studied him. Something about the question felt wrong. Not skeptical. Prepared. I never said anyone knew Adrian would find me. Marcus paused. Only for a second. But Noah saw it. Across the building, Adrian stood inside the medical records office with Evelyn Marsh, reading the laboratory report for the third time. The capsule was replaced, Evelyn said quietly. The original suppressant was removed before the ceremony. Adrian looked up. Can you identify what replaced it? Nothing dangerous. Something designed to weaken the suppressant temporarily. Adrian's expression became still. So whoever did this wanted Noah vulnerable, but not harmed. Evelyn nodded. That is what it looks like. Adrian left without another word. He returned to the archives and went directly to the founding records. Rule 37 was exactly where Noah had filed it, but this time Adrian ignored the official copy and examined the binding. A thin piece of paper had been hidden beneath the back cover. He unfolded it carefully. The handwriting was more than 2 centuries old. The law had not originally forbidden governing alphas from bonding with white-scented omegas. It had warned the council about what such a bond could do. Adrian read the passage twice. A freely chosen bond between them could neutralize dominance-based authority. Commands rooted in rank would lose their power. An omega bound by choice could stand before the strongest alpha and remain entirely his own. Adrian felt the truth settle with terrifying clarity. The council had not banned the bond because it endangered society. They had banned it because it endangered control. Back in the questioning room, Marcus leaned forward. You should consider what Adrian stands to lose because of you. Noah's gaze sharpened. Because of me? His position, his inheritance, his future. Interesting. Marcus frowned. What is? Noah leaned back slowly. You keep trying to make me feel guilty about a bond you claim should never have happened, but you have not asked the most obvious question, which is, who changed my medication? For the first time, Marcus had no immediate answer. Then the door opened. Adrian entered holding the hidden document. He placed it on the table between them. Marcus looked down, and every trace of calm disappeared from his face. Noah looked from the paper to Adrian. What did you find? Adrian kept his eyes on Marcus. The reason they are afraid of us. Marcus stood. You do not understand what you are reading. Then explain it. Adrian's voice remained quiet. Explain why someone arranged for Noah's suppressant to fail. Explain why Rule 37 was rewritten. Explain why the original law says our bond cannot be controlled by this council. Noah felt the room change around him. All the whispers, all the accusations, the sudden investigation. None of it had begun after the ceremony. Someone had planned for him to be there. Someone had wanted Adrian to find him. Noah looked at Marcus and finally understood the contradiction. You wanted the bond to happen, he said. Marcus said nothing. Adrian turned toward Noah, realization darkening his expression. Noah finished the thought for both of them. And now that it has, you are terrified we will discover what it actually means. Marcus Vale did not answer immediately. He did not need to. The silence was enough. Adrian looked down at the hidden document, then back at the chairman. You arranged this. Marcus finally exhaled. I arranged nothing personally. That is not a denial. Noah watched the older alpha carefully. For years, Marcus had been described as reasonable, measured, almost paternal. Now Noah could see what lived beneath the polished voice. Fear. Not fear of Adrian. Fear of change. The council needed proof, Marcus said. Proof of what? Noah asked. Marcus looked at him. That the old records were accurate. Adrian's jaw tightened. So Noah became an experiment. No one intended to harm him. You altered his medication. Temporarily. Noah almost laughed. That is supposed to make this better? Marcus ignored him. The council believed the bond might activate the old mechanism, but we did not expect it to happen so quickly. Adrian stepped closer to the table. And now you want to control the result. Marcus's expression hardened. We want stability. You want obedience. The word hung between them. Marcus closed the folder. You are still the designated successor, Adrian. This can be resolved. Noah felt something cold settle in his stomach. Adrian seemed to understand before Marcus continued. End your association with Mr. Bennett. Publicly reject the bond. Complete the succession ceremony with the Omega selected by your family. The council will restore order. Noah stared at him. And what happens to me? Marcus looked at him with the detached sympathy of someone discussing paperwork. Your record will be sealed. You will be relocated. Quietly. Adrian's voice dropped. No. Think carefully. I have. Marcus stood. You would throw away generations of responsibility for one Omega? Adrian turned toward Noah. For a moment, the room disappeared again. Noah wanted to tell him not to do anything reckless. Wanted to remind him that his future mattered. Wanted to say that no bond, no law, no hidden history was worth destroying everything he had inherited. But Adrian's expression stopped him. There was no panic in it now. No confusion. Just certainty. The formal council session began that evening. Every senior member filled the chamber. Noah stood near the back under supervision, while Adrian walked alone to the center floor. Marcus presented the terms publicly. Renounce the bond. Accept the council's chosen match. Retain his title. Retain his inheritance. Retain the future prepared for him since birth. Adrian listened without interruption. Then he reached for the silver insignia pinned to his jacket, the symbol of succession. The room went silent. Adrian removed it carefully and placed it on the long table before the council. You taught me that an alpha protects what belongs to him, he said. Noah's breath caught. Adrian looked across the chamber until his eyes found him. You were wrong. A murmur moved through the room. Adrian continued. Noah has never belonged to me. He is not a position. He is not a symbol. He is not proof of anyone's authority. Marcus's face went pale. Adrian, stop. Adrian did not even look at him. If keeping this title requires me to pretend otherwise, then I do not want it. Noah felt the world tilt. The insignia remained on the table between them, small and silver and suddenly meaningless. Marcus called the chamber to order, but Adrian was already walking away from the council. Not ahead of Noah, not toward the doors alone. He crossed the entire room and stopped beside him. Exactly beside him. You should not have done that, Noah whispered. Adrian looked forward. Probably not. Despite everything, Noah almost smiled. Then Marcus's voice carried across the chamber. This is not over. Adrian turned. Marcus held up a formal summons. Tomorrow morning, Noah Bennett will testify before the full council. If he states that this bond was forced upon him, he will be cleared of all charges. Noah looked at Adrian. Adrian looked back at him. And for the first time, Noah understood what tomorrow would demand from both of them. The chamber was already full when Noah entered the next morning. Every seat was occupied, every conversation reduced to a whisper that followed him across the polished floor. Adrian stood 20 feet away beneath the cold white lights, exactly where Noah had seen him in the memory that now felt like a lifetime ago. Marcus Vale sat at the center of the council table. Mr. Bennett, he said, you understand what is being asked of you. Noah looked at Adrian. Adrian's face was composed, but Noah saw the tension in his hand. One slow opening of his fingers. One quiet breath. Tell them I forced you, Adrian said. The chamber went still. Noah stared at him. Adrian continued before anyone else could speak. Tell them the bond was against your will. They will clear your record. You can leave this place and build whatever life you choose. Noah's throat tightened. And you? Adrian gave the smallest shake of his head. That does not matter. It matters to me. Marcus leaned forward. Mr. Bennett, answer the question. Did Adrian Hayes force this bond upon you? Noah could hear his own heartbeat. He remembered the hidden room. Adrian keeping his distance. Adrian asking what he needed. Adrian sitting several feet away because Noah had asked him to stay. He remembered the golden marks appearing without command, without dominance, without either of them understanding why. Then he remembered yesterday. The silver insignia resting on the council table. Adrian giving up everything because he refused to call Noah something that belonged to him. Noah finally understood what the old law had been trying to protect. Not a bond created through power. A bond created through choice. No, Noah said. Marcus's expression changed. Think carefully. I have. Noah turned toward the room. He did not force me. A murmur spread through the chamber. Marcus struck the table with his palm, demanding silence. Then you admit that you knowingly participated in a prohibited bond. Noah almost smiled. You really do love that word. Prohibited. Marcus stood. This is not a joke. No, it is not. Noah walked toward Adrian. One step, then another. No one stopped him. When he reached Adrian, he did not stand behind him. He stood beside him. He did not take me, Noah said, his voice carrying through the chamber. I chose him. The faint mark on Noah's wrist began to glow. Adrian looked down as the matching circle appeared on his own skin. Golden light moved between the symbols, soft and steady. Around the chamber, several senior alphas rose in alarm. Marcus's voice sharpened. "Sit down, Mr. Bennett." Noah felt the command reach him and then disappear like wind against glass. Nothing happened. He remained standing. Marcus stared. "Sit down." Again, nothing. Noah looked at Adrian. Adrian was smiling now. Not the careful, almost smile Noah had learned to recognize. A real one. The old record had been correct. The completed bond did not make Noah obedient to Adrian. It made imposed dominance powerless against him. Marcus stepped back from the table. Across the chamber, whispers became open conversation. Questions. Confusion. Realization. If one Omega could stand untouched by the authority the council had treated as natural law, then perhaps it had never been natural at all. Noah reached for Adrian's hand. Adrian hesitated for only a second before taking it. No command. No ownership. Just a choice answered by another choice. Marcus looked around the chamber as the order he had controlled for decades began slipping beyond his reach. Noah looked at the man beside him and finally understood why the council had feared them. They had expected the most dangerous thing an Alpha could do was claim an Omega. They had never imagined something far more powerful. An Alpha who refused to own him, and an Omega who chose to stay anyway. 6 months later, Noah Bennett still disliked ceremonial speeches, crowded rooms, and anyone who used the phrase historic transition before breakfast. Unfortunately, his new job involved all three. The old council had been dissolved after weeks of public hearings, released records, and more uncomfortable questions than Marcus Vale had ever expected to answer. In its place stood something slower, messier, and far less elegant, which Noah considered a significant improvement. The new assembly included alphas, betas, and omegas in equal numbers, and every law involving bonds, rank, or personal autonomy was being rewritten from the ground up. Adrian had been offered leadership twice. He declined twice. The third time, Noah threatened to hide the paperwork. Adrian believed him. Instead, they both accepted advisory positions, which sounded impressive until Noah discovered it mostly meant attending long meetings and arguing about commas. On a quiet Tuesday afternoon, Noah sat behind a familiar oak desk in the newly reopened public archives, surrounded by boxes of restored documents. Sunlight warmed the tall windows. The ancient restricted section was no longer restricted. That still made him smile. He was halfway through cataloging the original version of Rule 37 when he sensed Adrian before hearing him. Some things had not changed. Noah kept writing. "You are distracting me." Adrian stopped on the opposite side of the desk. "I have not said anything." "Exactly. Suspicious behavior. I came to bring you coffee." Noah looked up. Adrian held out a paper cup from the cafe across the street. "That is almost enough to forgive you." "Almost. You ordered the wrong kind last week. You drank all of it." "I was being polite." Adrian raised an eyebrow. Noah took the cup. Their fingers brushed, and the faint golden circles on their wrists shimmered for half a second, before fading again. The bond had never turned them into the perfect couple everyone suddenly imagined them to be. Adrian still worked too late. Noah still reorganized things and then denied moving them. They disagreed about furniture, breakfast, and whether a 12-year-old coffee maker qualified as an antique. But every disagreement ended the same way it began, with two people allowed to choose what came next. Adrian moved around the desk and stopped beside Noah's chair. Not behind him, not in front of him, beside him. Noah smiled without looking up. "Are you trying to distract me at work now?" "Maybe. That sounds prohibited." Adrian leaned closer, his voice warm with amusement. "We have some experience with outdated rules." Noah laughed and closed the file. Outside the windows, the city moved through an ordinary afternoon, unaware that the world had once nearly fallen apart over two people standing exactly where they wanted to stand. Noah looked at Adrian and thought about the first time he had believed love meant being chosen by someone powerful. He knew better now. Love was not being chosen once. It was being given a choice every day and choosing each other again. Adrian offered his hand. Noah took it. Together, they walked toward the archive doors, leaving Rule 37 open on the desk behind them. No longer a warning, no longer a threat, just another old law that had finally lost its power.